Concerned about blood sugar? This is going to be a comprehensive live on blood sugar. You're not going to want to miss this, just letting you know. And you can turn to a certain food for support. What is that food? Boo, boo, boo. There it is. Kiwis right in front of me. I got two kinds of kiwis. I got a gold kiwi, green kiwi. Got some limes there, but that's just part of the recipe. We're making a great sorbet, Kiwi Sorbet. I think you guys can be excited. Take a look at that right there. Is that not really amazing? It's unbelievable. This is a recipe in Life-Changing Foods. New edition. Wait till you taste this recipe. You're going to be very excited. There it is, you guys. Expanded edition. Make sure you have that all set. Make sure you pre-ordered it. Make sure you do that because you're going to want to, because it's coming out soon. You're going to want a copy in your hands. Trust me. You are not going to be disappointed. If you're disappointed in this book, I will just be like, what? It's 600 pages. It's filled with new recipes. It is such a reference book for chronic illness, symptoms, conditions. We're going to talk about that. But today we're talking about blood sugar. That's right, blood sugar. And you may not like it. You may not like what you hear. You may not like what I'm going to talk about. So stick around and see. You may want to throw something at me because you might be, let's see, sucked into this belief system of how blood sugar works, and this does not, work in your belief system. Maybe this isn't congruent to your belief system, but hear what I have to say. Your mind is going to be blown. Huge announcement. Just want to let you know, Barnes & Noble, November 6th, book signing. Registration is open now. Link is in the description. Make sure you check that out. Link is in the description of this video. So look for it, okay? That's the huge announcement. Barnes & Noble, November 6th, book signing. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be signing those life-changing food books. I hope I see you. It's going to be a meet and greet. Let's get a photo together. I'm pumped about it. Barnes & Noble in Glendale, okay? Glendale, it's Los Angeles. The Glendale Barnes & Noble, 3-story one. It's going to be real fun. You can definitely get into that. Please, come out. I would love to meet you in person. And a little bit of a warning, a good warning, positive warning. I'm going to be getting light into that building. Some serious light into that building. So I want everybody to know that. It's going to be exciting. So that's the announcement. Barnes & Noble, November 6th. The book signing registration is open now. Links in the description. Yes, it's going to be Glendale. I'm pumped about that one, November 6th. It's going to be really cool for a lot of reasons. Can't wait to meet you. Can't wait to shake your hand. Can't wait to see you. I am excited. Talking about blood sugar, and you see some kiwis in front of me right there, and you see some celery juice right there. That celery juice was a little bit extra leafy green on the celery. Did you ever get that where there's more leafy greens on the celery? There's a lot more. This was a batch where it was like the spindly kind, and then it had a lot of leafy greens on there. So that's a really intense celery juice, way more medicinal tasting. That's, like that medicinal vibe celery juice can give you. Some celery juices are like smooth as silk. They go down like nothing. Like they taste so good. Real smooth, they even taste sweet. This is salty, sweet. That celery juice got an edge to it, has a kick to it. It's got the leaves in there, and the celery was more spindly. Anyway, we're talking about kiwis. So if you're concerned about regulating blood sugar, and maybe you're not concerned, but if you are, it's a great show. Let's get into it. And if you're somebody that, you go to your practitioner, you go to your doctor, okay? And you've been to your, healer, doctor, practitioner, your GP, your internist, and your specialist, and they're checking for blood sugar problems, but they're not really seeing them, but you're exhibiting symptoms of hypoglycemia. You're exhibiting symptoms of hyperglycemia. But yet, they're not saying, hey, Mr. Jones, you got type 2 diabetes. Hey, Mrs. Jones, you got type 2 diabetes, or you're pre-diabetic, or your A1C is off the chart. There's a group of people that have blood sugar instability without that A1C thing. without the A1C being, boom, way above 100. You know, and that's important to know because there's people walking around with all kinds of different symptoms and conditions related to blood sugar, and they don't have a clue because every time they get their blood tested, it's sitting, you know, it's sitting good with their A1C, but yet their blood sugar is like this. It is all over the place. You're hypo, you're hyper, you're hypo, you're hyper, and that's what people live with. And we're gonna cut into so many different aspects of it. So let's get down to it before we bring the anatomy over. And we're gonna do some other things too. Let's bring the anatomy over and let's take a look. Medical medium information isn't fruit only. Fruit only, where it's just fruit and only fruit. You know, over the years, I've been blamed for like this fruit thing because we were breaking the whole fruit fear thing. It was like we were crushing it. And in the health movement, fruit was the devil. Fruit was Satan. So it was Beelzebub. That's what fruit was to everybody in the health movement. So if you're somebody that was a keto dude or a paleo dude or, you know, a paleo chick or a keto chick, and you were in the health world, in the health movement, like sugar was the devil. It's like you're gonna die from sugar, you're gonna get sick from sugar, you're gonna have, you know, blood sugar from sugar, you're gonna get all kinds of diseases from sugar. And that was the whole talk. I don't know if you guys remember that. Remember when, you know, fruit was thrown into corn fructose? Do you guys remember that? Do you remember when the, you know, didn't matter what it was? Anybody who is anybody in the health movement, any kind of health author or whoever was in the health movement, they would just be like, sugar's the devil, sugar's bad, that's what it's about. Fruit, that's the devil. You can't have fruit. It's the same thing. It's just as bad as corn, high fructose corn syrup, just as bad as that. Do you guys remember that whole thing? Yeah, you remember that? Fruit was, right? Fruit was the beast. You guys remember, right? You know what I'm talking about here? You know, the thing is with you guys in the medical meme community, you guys are really seasoned, so you're not just like in this for what, like you just were born yesterday in this and you didn't know about these things. You know what I'm talking about. You remember, Christina? It was the high fructose corn syrup. That was like evil, right? Evil sugar. And then they just packaged all fruit in that package. You remember, right? Including potato. That was thrown into that package too. It was like potato. Remember how everybody was trying to do the keto thing where there wasn't a scrap of sugar anywhere for the keto diet at that time? You weren't allowed a berry, you weren't allowed a cherry, you weren't allowed a kiwi, you weren't allowed a melon, you weren't allowed an apple. And green apple was questionable. Do you guys remember that at the time? Yeah. You remember. Lori Starr says she remembers? Okay. Okay, I just don't want to be the one that only remembers that. I mean, right? You guys remember. And so fruit was the devil, and it was thrown into, along with like potato, along with sweet potato, along with everything. It was thrown into the whole corn syrup thing. It was utterly insane. Sophia said green apples, explanation point, right? So, yeah, it all became one. See what ignorance is? See, ignorance? Not you guys. I'm talking about the so-called leaders of the health movement, the gurus of the health movement, right? You know how many years people lost on their lives because of misinformation about that? Because they were running from potatoes and running from fruit. Do you guys know? I'm serious. Do you know how many people lost 10 good years of their healing? And they were sent backwards because they were bumping into walls and stuff, and they were told all this wrong misinformation. They'd buy every health book there is. They got a little library at their house, on their bookshelf, and they got like 50 health books, right? Including the vegan guys and the vegan, all of them, including everybody, right? They had like all the different books in the whole bit, and the devil was any form of carbohydrate, any form of sugar, right? And that fruit was piled into the corn, the whole high fructose corn syrup, and potato was piled into, the high fructose corn syrup. All right, okay, I'm glad you guys remember, and that's where we are with it. Okay, so that whole thing happened in the sick part, and the real sad part is So many people lost so many years and the ability to heal. So many of them lost so much freaking time. They lost 8 years of the best time. You know, they lost 12 years, 12 freaking years in the best time of their healing with chronic illness. And it was kind of like squandered away by a bunch of, you know, idiots. Yeah, I'll say that, idiots in the health scene that actually led everybody astray. Stay away from fruit, stay away from potato, don't do any carbohydrate, the whole bit. Whether it was, you know, like vegan, yeah, vegan was high fat, you know, low carb, high fat, yeah, the whole thing. On top of that too was that was a whole big thing too with the plant-based vegan movement. Never mind that, but like the regular movement of paleo, keto, right? And it all stemmed from this belief that you're really supposed to eat a few vegetables along. You got to be careful about the vegetables you're eating, but a few vegetables and then your meat and then your bacon and all of that. And that's what it was about. It was about that. That's what it was about. Like, I don't know, I got a couple of things right here. I don't know if we can take a look right here. Maybe we'll get a close-up on this, okay? There's a cherry there, and there's a little piece of fruit that somehow got on here. I don't know, it's a tomato, that's what it is, it's a tomato. Tomatoes were considered evil. Did you know that? They were considered evil. Nightshade, nightshade. So the whole time, all these poor people, all these poor chronically ill people, come on, let's say it like it is. These people who are struggling, let's say what happened. Let's talk about, you know, what the health movement did to people. Yeah, like why is everything so hidden? Why is everybody's freaking bad mistakes that screwed up so many people? Why is it always hidden about the movement? About like, you know, the health gurus and health people in the industry and a lot of the podcast doctors that never worked on people and so forth. Like all of that never worked with people. And, you know, let's talk about like what really happened. They made people starve their brains of glucose. They made people fear the shit out of fruit. They made them fear the crap out of potatoes, nightshades, that whole bit. Am I right? Am I right? Or am I wrong? Okay? They did all this, you know? Anyway, so what happened was people ran into a whole thing where they had to do this like no carb, no sugar. They had to do that whole thing. And then what occurred was, just so you know, what occurred was a starvation factor, critical needed glucose going to organs like the brain, critically needed glucose going to the liver, going to the pancreas. Yes, the pancreas needs sugar in order to heal, in order to generate insulin. It actually needs sugar itself. Every cell in the pancreas. Your adrenals need glucose. Critical that your adrenals get glucose. And so a lot of people end up like doing this whole thing where they shunned fruit out of their life completely, and then they fell victim to binging on cheat meals because they can only do hamburger 3 times a day for so long. They can only do a hamburger 3 times a day for so many months before it was like, oh my God. They would get rid of the bun because the bun was bad. And the bun was bad. It was gluten anyway, so it's true. It was bad. But this is what they would have to subsist on, which would be, and this isn't an anti-meat, anti-animal protein talk. This isn't propaganda. I'm just talking about what happened and what's going on. So then it was like they were allowed meat those many days. They were allowed chicken those many months. And they were told to stay away from everything. And they were given some vegetables. A lot of people in the early carnivore, they weren't given any vegetables. And the sad part is, even the carnivore guys, like the carnivore guys that were so-called like leading the way in being an expert in the carnivore movement, they were breaking. They just wouldn't tell their people. Good friend of mine who's a doctor happened to know like some of the carnivore guys. And he told me that they wouldn't tell their people that they were talking to, through social media. They weren't letting them know that they were breaking, meaning they were doing their meat only and doing the animal proteins only, and they were busting out the seams, meaning mentally, physically, and then they would have to binge. They would have to get some kind of carb in them, but they wouldn't let anybody know they were binging, so they wouldn't go on their social media feed and being like, I know, you guys, this is really hard. They wouldn't say that. They'd be like, this is how you do it. You eat just this meat, or you even eat raw meat if you want, or you just eat cooked meat if you want, and you only exist on that. And look, you get into the gym, they weren't letting anybody know that they were breaking down and that they were binging. And then they would come out of their binge and be like, I'm going to pull this off again. And they're telling other people, but they weren't straight. And do you think everybody's straight on social? Do you think, you know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, right? And that was going on. And over here, I'm talking about and what about the bacon thing? That was a big one. I don't know if you guys remember about 8 years ago, maybe it's 10 years ago, maybe it's 15 years ago. There are different times where there was a whole bacon belief system. You eat tons of bacon every day, all day long, but you stay away from all the fruits. God forbid, the fruits are evil. You'll get diabetes from the fruits. And they stay away from any potatoes, any vegetables. And it was the bacon thing. Do you remember that one, the bacon thing? Yeah, so that was a big deal too. So we're talking about blood sugar, everything blood sugar. It's going to be a comprehensive blood sugar talk right here. Huge announcement really quick though. Glendale in Los Angeles, okay? The Barnes & Noble book signing. I'm going to be there November 6th. Are you going to come? I would love to sign your book. Would love to meet you. Would love to say hi. Get a picture with you if that's okay. We get a photo together. The Barnes & Noble, it's a 3-story Barnes. I'm going to make sure that building is saturated with light. Saturated with light. I'm actually excited. Registration is open now. Link is in the description of this video. So let's get into it a little bit here. Fruit was the devil. It was all about low carb and still is in many ways, but we broke the barrier and a lot of people are eating fruit now, including carnivore people. They realized they had no choice. They brought in honey, then they brought in lemon, then finally they brought in berries, then finally they brought in some other fruits. They're still shunning some vegetables. They think those are evil, and that's absurd, beyond absurd. But watching them make mistakes over and over again is kind of funny, but sad for the people who actually don't know how to heal. That's the sad part, See you there? Oh, cool. Oh my God, I can't wait. Amazing. Sophie said she'll be there. That's great. Anybody else? You guys are going to be there at Barnes? I can't wait to see you and meet you. You're looking at a pancreas right here. Take a look, take a peek. It's a pancreas inside of this anatomy. There's adrenals in the back. You'll see them above the kidneys. Take a look there too, okay? Adrenals are back there. So what happens is this. People, they have a crisis with their adrenals. Their adrenaline is not producing to the level it needs to produce because they've been on fight or flight for a long time. Also, they've been chipped away like death by 1,000 cuts on their adrenals through different variety of problems. One is the high-fat diet. Too much high fat in the diet. Too much overt fat in the diet. Because of that, it triggered off adrenaline every single day after the high-fat meal and caused a type of fight or flight from a high-fat diet. This is what happens to people. And by the time they're 30, and it could happen when they're 20, it could happen when they're younger, could happen when they're older, but there's a certain point in time where their adrenals say, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And the high-fat diet that's really beating their adrenals down takes it to a new level of blood sugar instability at the same time. Because adrenals are involved with blood sugar control. They have a big part of blood sugar control. Very important fact in this situation and very important truth. What happens is, if you're going to do intermittent fasting, if you're going to beat the person who's withholding food for a certain period of time, and that intermittent fasting thing, what a disaster that's been for so many people. You don't hear about it that much, do you? Do you guys hear about intermittent fasting every minute? You remember 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when intermittent fasting just like all of a sudden like hit this, epic point, this epic height, and everybody was intermittent fasting? Everybody? What happened? Where did that go? It was an epic, epic screw up and disaster. There are people still doing it. There are some people trying to hang on to it, and there are some people still talking about it. They're still trying. They're fighting for intermittent fasting to like survive. But what happened, and remember all the million of pamphlets and million little books that went out that were just about intermittent fasting, and everybody was trying to say something about it, okay? It just went boom down and just exploded, because what happened was intermittent fasting was an epic disaster, because what does it do? It kills your adrenals, just kills your adrenals. And a lot of people, they can't survive that long term. They can try to do it short term. They can try to do it for a little while and say, hey, it's helped me in so many ways, intermittent fasting. But what happened is people end up binging when they intermittent fast. They end up at the end of the day binging on something like high fat, something not good is what they do. They end up binging on things that they're probably not supposed to eat, and that's what happens. They say, I can do whatever I want at night. I can eat whatever I want at night. Do you remember that? But at the beginning of the day, they're intermittent fasting, and they're withholding all their food. They're technically not fasting because they're also doing coffee drinks, they're doing tons of caffeine, and they're doing all of this, doing black tea, and they're keeping themselves, on matcha tea or whatever it is, and they're keeping themselves all jacked up is what they're doing. But you guys remember, you know what happened with the intermittent fasting thing. And what happened there? Where's that? You don't really hear about it too much. You don't hear about it too much. All right, so we're talking about, this is a really comprehensive show on blood sugar. You're going to learn more in this show about blood sugar than anywhere else. You just are. In the intermittent fasting trend, people blew their adrenals out. That's what they did. They blew the shit out of their adrenals really bad. Now, if you got strong adrenals, you're young enough, or they just seem to be strong enough, they'll hang in there and they'll run with it with you. They'll go along with it. They'll go along with the crime of intermittent fasting, okay? But intermittent fasting means running on adrenaline. That's what it really means. That should be its definition, should be defined by that. Running on adrenaline. Running on adrenaline until your adrenals say F you, and now you're running on empty. Over time, people who do the intermittent fasting too long end up running on empty adrenals that can't pull it off anymore. They can't do what they need to do anymore. They're shot. They get shot. That's what happens, okay? Keep that in mind. Understanding this is protecting you. Becoming empowered. Empowerment and knowledge is critical when it comes down to health. We're scratching the surface on hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, diabetes, pancreas problems, central nervous system problems, adrenal problems associated all with blood sugar instability. You are in a comprehensive live. And this isn't a pre-recorded video. This is live right now, okay? Adrenals can't handle intermittent fasting, and people burn them out just from that process alone. And then they eat a very fatty meal at the end of the day. They don't intermittent fast without caffeine. Some might, but most don't. And then by the end of the day, they have a high-fat meal. Maybe they have something that they love. Maybe it's burgers. Maybe it's some oily fries. Maybe it's hot dogs, maybe it's bacon burgers, maybe it's pizza, maybe it's just a big old steak, maybe it's whatever, pizza, that's another thing too. Maybe it's sushi, they can't wait for the end of the day for their sushi. Maybe it's that right there. And by doing this, They're weakening their liver, they're weakening their pancreas. Intermittent fasting is something that breaks down the pancreas over time. It breaks down the liver. This is a healthier pizza right here in my hands. This is a pizza with cheese and plenty of oil on this pizza, but it's got a little bit of broccoli, so that's pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool. Intermittent fasting is one of the big screw-ups, just like the Atkins crap, just like the Atkins diet, just like the paleo diet, just like the Mediterranean screw-ups where they've changed the Mediterranean diet, just like the low carb, no carb diets, just like the keto diets, all screw-ups. And you know what? You may be new and you're watching this and you're watching me talk about this and you already hate me because I'm saying this. Because maybe you stand behind your keto diet because you've been on it for a while. Maybe you're not even on a keto diet, but you think you are because it's called that. I'm going to go into that too a little bit. So the keto diet, let's head there a bit, get out of intermittent fasting, but we'll talk about how intermittent fasting damaged a lot of adrenals. In a lot of people, their adrenals got wasted from the process. But here's the scary part. Adrenals don't tend to go boinkers in the moment. They hang on. And then when you come out of your intermittent fasting or whatever, years later, the adrenals show their war wounds later. They show the damage to what's happened to them later on down the road. And that's the sad part because now you're somebody where your blood sugar is really unstable because your adrenals are unstable and your adrenals got so weak where they can't kind of hold out and hold things going where the blood sugar and the adrenaline work together. So let's head into that area. Adrenaline keeps somebody able to not eat and do okay. Adrenaline allows someone to water fast. Adrenaline, and I'm not saying that's good or bad or whatever, long-term water fast, bad. But I'm saying if someone had to do a one day for a reason or a medical reason or whatever it is, but adrenal sustain the person so that if they skip a meal, the adrenaline covers them. That's what your adrenals do. They sustain you so you don't have to eat. That's what they do. So we can't abuse our adrenals through trends that are ignorant of these very critical human, functions. And the goal is to keep blood sugar going in on a regular basis so that adrenaline doesn't have to be constantly released from your adrenal glands. That's the goal, to really protect you so your blood sugar can be strong and solid and just rock solid. That's the important thing to know. Strong adrenals make it so you can skip a meal or not eat during the morning at all, and you'll be okay. Strong adrenals makes it so you can fast the night before a blood test. When they tell you, don't eat anything in the morning, don't eat dinner at night or a big dinner, you're gonna get your blood test the next morning. Strong adrenals allow you to stay strong when you fast the night before a blood test and you don't eat before your blood test. It's adrenals that are a big part of that. And if you're somebody that has weak adrenals, it's gonna be a big problem. You're not going to be able to fast out for the night. It's not going to be easy to skip your dinner. It's not going to be easy to fast in the morning before blood work, and then you get your blood work, and then you faint, or you feel sick for the rest of the day. And blood draw and blood work, another topic. You know medical information on that, so I don't want to go deep into that because we're deep into blood sugar right now, although that plays a role in many occasions for other reasons. Your adrenals keep you stable and stabilized. Adrenaline replaces blood sugar. That's how it works in the body. Abusive diet, trendy diets like intermittent fasting or bone broth fasts, it's another story. Talk about those things too. These things or no carb, low carb diet where you're eating, but you're eating overt fat nonstop, maybe animal protein overt fat nonstop. And these trendy diets abuse your adrenals so that you someday get set up for a blood sugar problem. And then you get in trouble where you have weak adrenals so that if you skip a meal or your meal's not perfect, you're going to be down, up, all over the place. Just left, right, down, up, all over the place. Okay? That's where you're going to be. Alex Xavier says that makes total sense. So is that why after eating fruit like apples and dates, I used to feel super tired, like I needed to crash right after my adrenals were recovering? It is a big piece of it. So it takes time to heal adrenals that were wasted from bad practices, bad health, trendy practices. It takes time for adrenals to recover, pancreases to recover, livers to recover, and for all that, and for central nervous systems to recover as well, to take you to that place. It's just the process, especially if we've been damaged and injured along the way from doing things like intermittent fasting, from doing no carb, low carb, from doing like carnivore with not the proper fruit brought in and leafy greens and trace mineral salts, all these things. And that's why I always say medical misinformation is there for anybody who's doing the other trendy stuff wrong out there. And they need to incorporate these understandings to protect them, because you could still eat animal protein. This isn't about you have to be plant-based. It's not about that. So important information, okay? Even when you're doing all the right things, sometimes you don't feel better instantly if you've been damaged and hindered for a long time. If your pancreas and your adrenals and your liver and your central nervous system has taken a hit for a long time. And then someone may say, well, I'm going to start doing what feels like the wrong things. Let me bring in this big overt fatty meal. And then they feel a spike. They feel better. And they're like, wait a minute, this is what I've been missing. But what they don't realize is they just had an adrenaline infusion. They just had an adrenal infusion. Because when you're healing and you're doing the right things and you're stabilizing your blood sugar and you're working with repairing your adrenals start to build up and they start getting strength internally. And they start getting more adrenaline produced that stays inside for reserves. And they start to build. And then you go off the deep end and you jump into something like, boom, you jump into the fun food, maybe a bunch of overt fat, maybe you jump into a pizza, and then you got energy and you got strength, and it comes quick like this, because what you're experiencing, what you're feeling are adrenals that were healing that ended up getting some reserves, and they blew out those reserves right there with that overt fat. Your adrenals were showing you how strong they've been getting while you've been doing the right things and taking care of yourself. That's why a lot of people who do the right stuff for a while and they're rebuilding and they're recovering, and then they jump off the wagon, they're like, oh my God, I could eat these big bean burritos with all the soy cheese. I can eat all this. I could have a pizza with regular dairy. Oh, I'm doing moderation though. I can do moderation. Let me have a piece of cheese here. Oh, this is an aged piece of cheese. Let me have some ice cream. Oh my God, I can't believe how much coconut ice cream I can do. Let me do the real thing, real ice cream. And they're like, I'm doing okay. I can live like this again. I'm back. And they don't realize all the good stuff they did brought them to that point, but their adrenals are like, holy crap. And their adrenals are releasing, and they're pumping all this adrenaline in there, in your body, and you're feeling that adrenaline high, but you got to be careful. You've got to take care of yourself. And that's how it works, because you can eventually crash again, because the adrenals and the liver and the pancreas and the central nervous system says, oh, no, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So if you guys just got on here, we're in Life-Changing Foods Expanded Edition. It's one of the things we're doing because we have kiwis in front of us here, and we're going to do a kiwi sorbet, great for the blood sugar. It's an amazing blood sugar food. It's a fruit. We talked about fruit fear a little bit, what happened in the industry and stuff like that. The last thing I want you to be is afraid of fruit. I don't want that. I want you to be open to it, of course. Learn how you can be able to use it and you can heal through the process. And we're gonna make that sorbet taste really good for somebody that doesn't like the taste of a kiwi. We're talking about the nervous system, the adrenals, the liver, pancreas, talking about hypoglycemia. We'll go into diabetes a little bit. So there's a lot of people out there that their A1C is not out of control. It's very, very deceiving, very confusing because their adrenals are weakened. Their central nervous system is weakening. Their liver is dysfunctional. Maybe it's a fatty liver, and they're having blood sugar instability, but yet it's not really measuring up with their A1C. And then they end up living like that for decades. For decades. One of the biggest mistakes right now is the people, because they're not censored, the people who are dominating the health space with glucose and blood sugar instability and diabetes and all that stuff. The people who are dominating that space because they're just not censored and stuff, and they're ripping out there through the whole blood sugar thing. They're giving people terrifying advice, terrifying information. They're having people eat way too much fat with a little bit of sugar, eating way too much fat, and a little bit of this and that. And what they're doing is they're teaching people how to get false readings with their sugar. They're teaching people how to go on a false roller coaster ride. That next trend that's developing out there and has been out there for a few years now is going to take people down an entirely different rabbit hole eventually, and they're going to be screwed over completely. They're going to be literally slaves to their blood sugar misinformation that they're learning out there. And that's a really sad thing to see. I have people that bring that to my attention. I've seen it out there, and that's really scary. So let's talk about a little bit more about pancreas problems, deficiencies in the pancreas, weakness with insulin production. So the pancreas normally gets injured, weakened, and destroyed from, guess what? High-fat, overt diets mixed with poor quality sugar. High-fat, okay? High-fat, overt diets mixed with poor quality, crappy sugar. And that's the abominations most people eat. Their pancreas shoves out a tremendous amount of insulin. The insulin cannot grab the sugar and open the door in the cell, and people go into glucose deprivation over time. And their pancreas gets damaged because of it. What people are not supposed to do is they're not supposed to put, okay, all the sugar with the fat. So right here you got French fries. French fries in oil or grease or lard or whatever. Those French fries are a blood sugar abomination because you're not just getting the starch from the potato, which is healing. You're not just getting potato, which is healing. You're getting the oil version or cheese on fries, that version. It's that combination that makes it so you get insulin resistance because the sugars from the French fry, carbohydrate, cannot find its way to a cell because insulin is being blocked by fat, by the oil in that fry. So you have to see how it is. Let's get a close-up on this one right here on the camera. So you're looking at those French fries right there. You guys know that. That's a familiar look. These aren't fries that are actually done fat-free. No overt fat, no oil, no grease, nothing like that. Those are fries that come from, say, a chain restaurant. Or maybe it's a mom and pop one and they're deep frying them, and that's what that is. It's a deep fried French fry. It's the oil and the carb, the fat and the carb combination that makes it so you get insulin resistance. Insulin can't find its way to the sugar. Insulin can't find its way to the cell. The sugar has a hard time finding its way to the cell, and then there's a struggle. People can go through this for years and years and years and decades. Insulin resistance chronically, and the pancreas suffers and it weakens over time because of this process. Now what you see is the cheeseburger right there. You may not know it's a cheeseburger, but that's the cheeseburger right there. That cheeseburger, you'll see the cheese now, okay? That cheese is the fat. Even dairy itself is flawed. I know there's a lot of homesteaders out there. They think they're doing, their families right. And I understand. They are in the sense where they're not doing the ultra-processed foods. They're making their own butter. They're trying to make their own cheese. They're trying to make their own goat cheese, raising their own animals. Got a lot of respect for that. But it's still the same crap. It's sugar and fat combinations. Cheese is a combination of sugar and fat. Lactose is the sugar along with the fat. It's that combination right there that gives you insulin resistance. Anytime anybody eats a cheese, whether it's the real thing or it's the aged stuff or it's soy cheese or some other type of vegan cheese, you're getting that insulin resistance because it's fat and sugar combined. Now, when you take something like the cheese and then you have the oil as well there, you have the fat in there, and then you have the crust, and then you have the oil that's in the crust or on the crust. It's that, and then maybe you have sausage on your pizza, maybe you have pepperoni on your pizza. You're dealing with lots of sugar. And then you have your tomato sauce, that's the sugar. Maybe there's oil in the sauce, that's fat. You have the ultimate abomination. It's the combination of fat and sugar combined. Pizza kills your pancreas, period. It kills your pancreas. If you just got on here, we're doing a comprehensive blood sugar show. There's going to be a lot of information being laid out. We ain't done. There is, and there's ways of doing a low overt fat pizza, by the way. There's ways of having pizza. At Cafe Gratitude, you can get the medical medium pizza right there, okay, in LA. And it's not loaded with, all this overt fat oil, all this oil and grease, and all this, dairy cheese and all that. So, and at Organic Crush, you can have the flatbread, okay, the potato flatbread. And that's not loaded with all this oil and all this, overt fat. So we're heading into how the pancreas gets destroyed over time and how somebody gets a weakened pancreas. And a weakened pancreas leads people into a lot of trouble, not just on a blood sugar level, but other problems, diseases, and conditions. Pancreatitis is a big one right there, all on its own. You get pancreatitis once, and then you got to compromise with your pancreas. You get pancreatitis once, then if you're not careful, you'll get it twice, then you'll get it a third time, fourth time, and now you got type 1 diabetes. Now you got type 1 diabetes. It's a whole nother, example. So we got some questions. We're moving through here. Renee down there, I agree, but why is the blood sugar lower when a patient eats protein and fats versus oatmeal or fruit smoothie? Because the fats are still in the bloodstream. That's why. So you're seeing insulin resistance. That's how it works. People are still eating their protein, and they're still eating their protein and fat, which is fat combined. Protein and fat, both are combined, right? They're eating their fat, and they're still having their smoothie. So if they're having their fruit smoothie, or they're having some kind of other treat, or they're having maybe a chocolate bar, maybe it's a healthier chocolate bar. Maybe they're just having cacao in a smoothie. Maybe they're eating almond butter. They're having their overt fats, and then they're having some fruit in their almond butter shake. They're having their oatmeal and their peanut butter combined. You see how it works? They're not doing this thing where they're keeping their overt fats minimized, and then they're keeping their overt fats away all morning. And then their morning is just plain oatmeal, which happens to be a little higher in fat anyway, oatmeal, but plain oatmeal. They're not just doing that kind of thing where they're having their celery juice and their plain oatmeal, and there's, maybe they're having a little regular steamed potato in the morning, which is fine, or some fruit. It's usually a mixed, mash. And the problem is at the end of the day, they're eating usually something really high in fat, stays in the blood sugar all night long. that fat doesn't disappear in one day. So every time you're bringing in any kind of carbohydrate or any kind of sugar and the fat's still in your bloodstream, you're having insulin resistance, which means the sugar cannot leave and go into the cell. It means your insulin is not taking it. Your insulin produced by your pancreas is not grabbing onto that sugar easily and taking it into your cells. Instead, it stays in the bloodstream, floats around, and boom, you got now a high blood sugar reading until you piss it all out. I hope that helps you answer that right there. You have to bring the overt fats down lower. You got to bring your fats down lower. You got to be careful there. Then you could bring in more carbohydrates, critical clean carbohydrates, medical medium term. You can bring more in sweet potatoes, winter squash, regular steamed potatoes. Bring more of that in, but you keep the oils off and you keep the fats out. You want to be animal protein? Got to be careful. Can't be doing it 3 times a day and then throw some sugar on, in there as well. What you're going to find from the carnivore movement of today, the one that's, recently here, which I predicted that would be here. When carnivore was just only meat only, I predicted that they would all just bump into walls and they would have to bring in some kind of sugar. And then they did. They failed. So they had to bring in some honey, and then they brought in some lemon, and then they brought in some apples, and they brought in some berries and some other stuff. But still, because they're eating all that animal meat, which is animal fat, then they're combining all that fruit, which is, yes, glucose, yep, fructose. They're combining still a big fat and sugar combination. Eventually, they're going to be just, boom, now they're pre-diabetic as they get a little bit older. It all comes to town. You can't stop it from coming to town. They don't know that there's a way to eat where you keep your overt fat lower as an animal protein person, and you can bring in more of these healing foods, and you can keep your blood sugar stable, and you can stop beating down your pancreas and your adrenals. Eventually, every new experiment you see on social, right, and on all the different platforms, becomes superseded with another stupid experiment. I'm just going to say it. I don't care. I'm going to say it because it is. And then another stupid experiment. Yeah, sorry, it is. And then they replace the old ones. Do you see how it works? Constant mistakes. The Atkins thing was a mistake. It just was. So many people, how many women got so sick in the old days from doing the no carb thing? I mean, it's the same old thing down the line, and then all these mistakes are made. You know how many people are going to be injured for a long time unless they do something to recover from intermittent fasting? The intermittent fasting mistake. It's a big one right now. Long-term water fasting is a huge mistake being made right now. Huge mistake. And people don't realize this. So all these experiments are happening in the health movement, and each one fails over time. All these people get injured over time, and then the new one pops up, and then the new one pops up. And carnivore, that injured a lot of people. Just eat meat only with nothing else. And then when that was injuring too many people, then they brought in, a little bit of lemon, trying to save people's lives with that. And then they try to, and so forth. But what it is it's a new mistake after new mistake after new mistake. And in the end, you'll have weak adrenals from it, an unstable blood sugar all the time, weakened liver, damaged central nervous system, hypersensitive vagus nerves, hypersensitive cranial nerves, weakened kidneys because of these fat combinations with these abominable sugar combinations put together. Because in the end, people, it's just a whole everybody needs sugar in order to survive. Everybody needs sugar in order to live. Without sugar, you die. Simple. Without sugar, you die. And in foods like fruit and leafy greens and wild foods and vegetables, there are fats. They're not overt fats, but there are traces of fats in all of that. A potato, a banana, winter squash has fat in it. A leaf of lettuce, spinach, mosh, all these things, all these leafy greens, parsley, cilantro, have fats in them. Yeah, they do. Broccoli, cauliflower, okay? they all have fats in them. They all have traces of fats. I'm not talking about nuts and seeds and nut butters and all of that. Okay, so in fruit, even berries, there's omega-3s in berries. There are fats in the seeds of berries. And so what people don't realize is you're never completely fat-free. Even when you're overt fat-free, it's still there in the food that you're eating. It's still in sweet potatoes, still in all the different squashes, it's even in zucchinis, it's there. So people don't know this though. But what happens is people end up relying on fat, thinking that's the answer. They can't run from it, they can't get away from it, and then their body hits the wall, their brain hits the wall, and they have to binge and their cheat days come. They have to have their pizza, they have to have their carbs, they have to have their sugars. And a lot of people don't want fruit. They don't want that as a possibility. They go with things that are much worse because they get glucose into glucose deprivation and they need sugar fast. So they can't help it, and it's like you can't stop and you grab that sugar, and that's what occurs, okay? And that's why the majority of the world is eating these things: cheesecakes, chocolate cakes, donuts, cupcakes, cookies. They can't run from them, can't hide from them, because the minute they keep all of it out and they're trying to eat no carb and they're trying to eat, say, meat and meat only, or there's somebody that's a vegan who's trying to do the same and now they're eating all the vegan cookies and cakes and chocolates and everything else, you just get trapped back into it. So it's a battle back and forth. If I had a bag of chips on me right here, I would show you a bag of chips. It's the same thing. How many people eat chips? You think you're eating the healthier chips because you're eating the avocado oil chips. You're still doing fat and sugar. Overt fat combined with sugar. That's what those avocado oil chips are. Total blood sugar, instability makers. Chips. People live on chips. They eat them every day. I don't judge anybody. I don't make fun of anybody because life is hard. It is hard. I don't judge anybody for eating any cheesecakes, nor chocolate cakes, cookies, cakes, and donuts. I will never judge a person for eating a single one of those. And a lot of people are not being honest as far as influencers on social who are in the health realm. They're eating a lot of crap. They're working out 3 hours a day and they're walking 10,000 steps, every single day with working out 2 hours a day, and they're running around empty intermittent fasting all day, and they're going to their appointments all day long and keeping their brains busy with that, but they end up eating a bunch of crap and they're not honest about it, and they run on caffeine and they don't talk about it to their crowd and to their audience. And so that is just a fact on social media about how things work. But then they crash and burn over time at some point, and now they're looking for some panacea of health, and then they're thinking, I gotta be carnivore, and I gotta be this, and I gotta be that, and they still don't have the answers. And they'll find something that's got tools in it, like fruit in anything right now, in anybody's health regime, any author, any podcast doctor, any health doctor, anybody out there is using fruit now. That's because of medical medium, because millions of books went out there. Hundreds of millions of people are doing fruit now because of it all through the world. So it changed it up. People want their fruit who are trying to get healthy. And that's medical medium information to break that barrier. And that's where we are right here. So you guys, we still have a little bit more to talk about. We're in, see, Pam over here, Pamela K. Whenever I go really low fat, dabbling, I feel really shaky. So I run back to fat or protein, and then I feel calmer. How can I help transition to more style? So what happens is, and it all depends. Are you not eating enough when you go off of fat, when you lower your fat? Are you just not eating at all for too many hours? And that's a problem all on its own, okay? So that means going off of the overt fats that you like lowering them, the ones that you want to lower, means what are we replacing? What are we putting for combinations? Are you doing the celery juice because you need those electrolytes? Are you doing the HMDS to get all that protein, the kind of protein that you do need from like spirulina and the protein, right? Are you doing the spinach soup where you get protein from the spinach there? Are you doing the spinach soup to get the electrolytes and the trace mineral salts? Okay, are you having celery sticks with some dates? Celery sticks with some fruit? Are you drinking coconut water? All the very things that help stabilize your adrenals, strengthen them, bring them back. Are you having a half a honeydew melon in the morning where you get a honeydew melon, you cut it, you're having that in the morning, then you have, after you had your celery juice? What are you doing? How are you taking care of yourself? And are you reducing your fat intake and then going to maybe avocado as a transition tool? Avocado is a different source of fat, a different kind of fat. It's a fat that doesn't do the same thing. It's a whole different, ballpark. Of course, you can overdo avocado. Look, I love avocado. It's just avocado's delicious. It's such a great food. It's a healing fruit, but it's a transition one too. So if you're coming off these heavy overt fats, are you replacing them with some avocado? And then leafy greens. Are you making yourself a nice spinach salad with a whole bunch of avocado chopped up on top, some tomatoes and some onions, and maybe cucumbers? Are you doing that? And then after that, are you having a couple of dates, with, say, a celery stick or two? Are you eating every hour and a half, 2 hours? To support your adrenals and your central nervous system and your liver and your liver's needs for glucose and your brain's needs for glucose. So what happens is people don't know how to implement, they don't know how to incorporate all these medical medium tools, but you're working on it, so I respect that. So Pamela, I think you're dabbling, and you're saying you're dabbling, and I have respect for dabblers because that's just the way it works. We're all doing the best we can. It's not that you have to be perfect and this and that, but the dabbling thing, makes a lot of sense because it's hard to kind of keep it all straight when we're, grabbing chocolate. I'm not saying you're grabbing chocolate, Pamela, but, when people are grabbing chocolate and they're grabbing this and they're grabbing that in between it all too, and they're not getting the right foods in between. Or, the overt fats they're eating some really bad overt fats. It's the bad ones. It's a bag of chips with all that oil. Maybe it's something else too, and it's just a lot of overt fat. So it's very difficult, and there's this transition that occurs. Plus, when you're starting to back down that overt fat, your body is letting go now. You reduce high intense overt fat, your body's going to be cleansing a lot of poisons, a lot of toxins, a lot of old fragrances that are in your bloodstream and your liver, a lot of different poisons, and those are going to surface too. Those poisons are going to surface and come up, and they're going to be floating around your bloodstream. And if you're not eating other foods to help get those poisons out, it might recycle back in, and then you're back on the fat train again. You're back on the overt fat train again, and you're shoving more overt fats down, and it's now stopping your detox completely. And we'll go into that too. It is very hard to detox. It's very hard to cleanse with all the overt fats in our system. It's very hard because your bloodstream gets filled with fat. Fat prevents your liver and other organs from releasing poisons and toxins, from releasing all those poisons. And that's what people don't realize. They don't realize they can get into trouble where they're always doing the overt fat all the time, and they can't cleanse and they can't detox. Now they're stuck. No cleansing, no detoxing. It's very hard. They're not doing the celery juice. They're not doing, say, the HMDS. They're not doing the medical medium morning cleanse. They're not doing these things. The overt fats are there. They're stuck in their liver. They're in the bloodstream. Toxins and poisons can't be released. They stay stifled and buried and stagnant and down deep, and we get in trouble. And that's what happens. I'm just drinking a little lemon tea here. keep in mind it's a process. And maybe you guys are, so many of you are in different stages. Many of you guys are doing the 3-6-9 cleanse. Some are doing the 28-day cleanse. Some are doing the mono cleanse. Some are just doing the medical medium morning cleanse. Some are doing adrenal snacks, and you customized your own way of eating out of medical medium tools. Yeah. Andrea said, this is one of the best lives ever. I am honored. Can't believe it. And you're not mad at me. You guys aren't mad at me for talking about all these foods that everybody loves. All right, so let's get into it a little bit more. There's mysterious hypoglycemia where you're not really losing your blood sugar, but it's mysterious because your central nervous system is having a problem. Your central nervous system is having an issue. And what happens is when our central nervous system is weakened, all right, let me get a couple things out to you guys. I want to show you some stuff. All right, we're back. We're back. Intense talk right here. Okay, we're talking about adrenals. We're talking about sugar and fat. I want to go, I was just in the, I had this in the other room and I was going through it all and I feel like I didn't cover a couple of things good enough. So I want to get a close-up on the cheese because that's a big one. So Spirit of Compassion tells me that people are addicted to cheese more than almost anything. I don't know what you guys, how you guys feel. I don't know what you think. Yeah, we're back. Here he is. I know. You guys, I was only gone for a minute. That's what it seemed like, right? So cheese is a big one right here. I get close-ups on cheese. So there's hard cheeses, there's soft cheeses, there's brie and so forth right here, okay? That's a stick of butter that happens to be on here. But cheese is one of the most addictive foods. It's one of the foods people can't run from, okay? And I'll share this cheese. I'm not going to eat it all, okay? And used to be addicted to cheese. How many people have been addicted to cheese? How many guys out there? Right? So yeah, it's crazy. I was never crazy. You were never crazy about cheese? A lot of people loved cheese for so many reasons. They were addicted to it. And one of the biggest reasons is it's the sugar and fat combination. And what happens in the glucose world and the diabetes world, they tell people, they used to tell people, and they still do now, that hard cheeses and cheese is good as long as it's not processed cheese, as long as it's not like that American processed cheese. But that cheeses are good for your blood sugar. So what happens to a lot of people, they get trapped into the whole hypoglycemic thing, and they think they stabilize themselves with cheese. That's what they do. It makes the shakes go away. So I'm talking about the shakes, the low blood sugar shakes that hit people, okay? Going into that a little bit. You were raised on dairy? You were? You love cheese? One of the biggest addiction, hardest to break, cheese, right, you guys? Yes, cheese was a big one to get off of, but it's gone. No more cheese because of medical medium information. I miss cheese myself, I see right there. Definitely was addicted to cheese. So cheese is a big one, right? You guys, not anymore though, cheese, right? It's like a drug. It is like a drug. I cut the cheese all the time, Dr. Fon says. Your sense of humor always amazes me. Jerry, yep, Swiss cheese. Swiss cheese is a big one right there for a lot of people. People love Swiss cheese. Plant-based with cheese, yep, that's another one too. Lots of cheese with plant-based, okay, it's a big one right there. Cheese, coffee, and bread, Rosanna, right, that's a big one. My father would eat cheese and mayo for his diet, okay, so cheese is that big one right there. And a lot of the glucose experts right now and blood sugar experts, they say that, you know, they pretend to be experts or whatever it is, or maybe they're just working in it for so many years, they're an expert. But you can be an expert of the wrong information. You can be an expert of misinformation. You can be an expert with information that's not the best. You can be that kind of an expert. Mozzarella and crackers was your thing right there. Was the hardest to break, right? So keep in mind, cheese is that big one because it's sugar and fat. It's all in one. There's a combination of that sugar and fat all in one that stabilizes us so we think. It stabilizes us so we believe, especially if you're having like a blood sugar attack or you're low on fuel. And it's like that piece of cheese like stabilizes you and makes everything go whoa, whoa, whoa. And now you feel like you're all good. Now you feel like you're solid, right? Okay, Melvin, you were addicted to cheese? Yep. Okay. I mean, there you go, right? So many people. So hard to stay away from, Michelle, right? Cheese and salt. And that's another thing too. Salt is added to these cheeses, right? Cheese has salt in it. It's salty, cheesy, fatty, sugary, sweet cheese. Yeah, cheese has sugar in it. It does. You know, it's there. It's a combination of that sugar and fat that gets people the most addicted. That's the one right there. And it's that very cheese that makes people think that they're okay, that it makes them good, that it stabilizes their blood sugar in the moment, that it actually takes them to a place where they're solid now. You know, I just needed that piece of cheese in the morning. I just needed that piece of cheese in the afternoon. Now I feel good. Now I feel stable. But what happens is that it's kind of an illusion. It is a facade, because even though it's giving you some fuel and it's stabilizing you in the moment, it's giving you insulin resistance at the same time, and that sugar isn't going to the brain entirely, and that fat's floating around the bloodstream. So that's the problem with cheese, and it can make a vicious cycle occur where you're just in a vicious cycle all the time. We often think sugar is just cake. So let's take a look at this for a quick second. We also think sugar is just cake, okay? That's what we believe sugar is. Sugar is not just fruit like in the health movement, but the world of sugar in general believes it's like chocolate cake and the whole bit, okay? And, but that's not true. This is sugar combined with fats. That's what chocolate cake is. It's not the sugar necessarily that's the problem in the chocolate cake. It's all the fat that's in the chocolate cake. It's the oil, it's the butter, it's the cacao. That is the problem. And it's the same like with cheese. It's sugar and fat combinations. People don't think this is sugar right here. People think this is sugar right here. What they don't realize is they're both sugar and fat combinations. One isn't much better than the other one. They both create insulin resistance. It's the treats, this kind of thing like the sugar cakes and the chocolate cake, and it's the cheese. These actually bring about insulin resistance. The sugar gets trapped in the bloodstream, and then there we go. People walk around with this, and we get in trouble, okay? And people overeat this stuff too. They overeat all of this stuff. Popcorn, okay? Now, corn itself feeds viruses. Corn products feed viruses. Corn is GMO at this point, even organic corn, GMO. Keep that in mind. But corn, like popcorn, isn't the worst thing if it doesn't have oil and butter on it. It's the oil, coconut oil, healthy oil like coconut oil, on popcorn, which makes it insulin resistance a problem. Corn will feed pathogens, but just minus that. Take out that truth, that medical medium truth about corn feeding pathogens, okay? Let's remove that for a second. All right? Popcorn itself, the corn on its own, by itself, minus the feeding viruses, bacteria, pathogens, minus that, is not bad on its own if it didn't feed the pathogens, because it feeds pathogens, it's bad. That's why medical medium, has it in the books about being a food you want to stay away from. But when you add that oil, coconut oil, regular olive oil, cheese on your popcorn, butter, now you're heading to diabetes possibly. Now you're beating down your adrenals. Now you're weakening your pancreas. Now you got insulin resistance. That's how it works. So I just wanted to give like different examples, different understandings. Very important, all of it. All right, let's move some of these props out of here. Let's get some of these foods, these meals, these props. Let's move them all out for a moment, okay? A lot of food there. All right. A lot of people have central nervous system problems. They got weakened vagus nerves. They got weakened phrenic nerves. They got cranial nerves that are weakened. And because of this, their central nervous system is creating neurological fatigue, all kinds of neurological symptoms. This can get misconstrued if not diagnosed properly by a doctor, a practitioner, healer. If it's not diagnosed properly, it gets misconstrued as a blood sugar problem. Okay? One reason it gets misconstrued as a blood sugar problem is that when people are playing with foods, and they're playing with different foods, and they're having problems with the symptoms, feeling really weak, feeling shaky, can't stand up, tremoring, and then they eat something and the tremor goes away, different symptoms, tightness of the chest, anxiety, whatever it is, depression, whatever's going on, central nervous system, cranial nerves, something's going on there. If they have a weakened central nervous system, foods can confuse things because now I'm getting weak again. Now I'm feeling a little stronger. I feel a little better. Now I feel a little calmer. Now I'm not tremoring. Now I'm not shaking. Okay? All this is happening. And what people don't realize is their central nervous system is overburdened. It's weakened. The cranial nerves, their vagus nerves might be inflamed. They might have pathogens. They might have different viruses, different pathogens. They might have Epstein-Barr virus. They might have shingles. They might have, they might have cytomegalovirus. They might have different varieties of bugs. And these bugs are in them creating neurotoxins with metals. And they're coating all the nerves right here. They're coating these nerves. And what's happening when these nerves get coated, they create a draw on the body. And they get inflamed. And then people get the neurological fatigue. But they're getting diagnosed with blood sugar problems left and right. Like it's the blood sugar. The blood sugar is the problem. The blood sugar is the problem. It's, and then they don't realize it, but they're struggling from a real central nervous system issue. They're struggling from central nervous system problems. They're struggling with a weakened nervous system because they're viral, because they got pathogens, and now they're playing the food game. They're lost. They're low carb. They're no carb. They're trying this. They're trying that. They're trying to do all these different things, and they're lost. And they're getting a diagnosis where you're hypoglycemic. You're hyperglycemic. You got to watch your blood sugar every minute. Meanwhile, it's their central nervous system being inflamed, and it's under attack by poisons and toxins, keeping them weighted down, keeping them feeling like they're burning out. And that's a whole nother thing. All right, let's make some food, you guys. I mean, we can go on forever. We can. There's so much information, and I think we covered a decent amount of it. I do. I think we covered insulin resistance. I think we covered the low-carb diets. We covered the anti-fruit trends. We covered all of that. I think we can get into some food and stuff. So let's do it. Let's get into the Kiwi Sorbet, which I'm excited about because I'm actually hungry. I'm looking forward to making some. So let's do that right now. All right, let's get something out of the freezer. First things first. Okay? All right. What you see right here is like the recipe. You want to slice your kiwi in slices. You want to peel your kiwi. This is the gold kiwi, all right? I love the golds, okay? So what I'm going to do is peel back a kiwi right here. You see this, you guys? You skin the kiwi just like this. Look, these are beautiful kiwis. Look at this. How really nice. You peel your kiwi. I'm kind of doing a little bit of a quick sloppier rendition, but you peel your kiwi. You peel it right down, just take the skin off. You see this right here? There you go. You're peeling your kiwi, all right? You want to freeze them overnight. That's what you want to do. I froze these overnight. I peeled them last night and got them sliced and frozen. So let me show you how to slice them now for this recipe. Now I'm not gonna do a long rendition of this because I don't want these defrosting. These are frozen right here, you guys. These are frozen. So I'm making some slices. And you set the slices up on the parchment paper like I did, okay? And there you go. All right, let me get my spatula out. All right, so let's start putting these frozen ones. These are really frozen. Nice. This is going to be a really good sorbet. I can do this even with my hand right here. Wow, this is great. So what I'm doing is taking these and putting them into the food processor. This is the gold kiwi one. There's two versions you can do. I'm going to do two. All right. And these are really nice and frozen. There you go. And what you're going to do is you're going to add a little bit of, you can add lime to it. I'm not going to do lime to this one. I think I'm going to do lime to the other one. I'm going to do coconut water for this one. You don't want to just douse it with too much water, too much coconut water, because if you do that, what happens is you get in trouble because you may not have a sorbet. You may instead have like a smoothie. You don't want a smoothie. That's not what we're making. But accidentally, people will make that. We're going to use some maple syrup in here. That's really great with this one. There you go. I can actually predict I'm going to have a brain freeze. Definitely going to have a brain freeze with these. All right, move that over. Let's add a little maple syrup to this. All right, now you can add a little more, a little less. I'm going to do 2 to 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. If you don't mind, here I am. Okay. There you go. I'm going to add a little bit of coconut water. Here's the thing with the coconut water. I'm going to hold off the lime on this one. I'm going to do the lime juice on the next one I'm going to do. There we go. There we go. Now I'm going to add some coconut water. I'm not going to go crazy with it though. I don't want this a mess. There we go. Making a sorbet as we speak. And what I'm going to do is add a little bit more coconut water to this. I'm going to add a little bit more. And that's what the directions say, a little bit at a time. Don't just dump a whole bunch in. You want a sorbet. It's a frosty one. Yep, that's definitely going to be a frosty one. Do what the directions say. Add a little bit more. All right, now we're getting there. Let that spin for a while, and I'm going to break it up a little bit too. There we go. Could probably take a touch more coconut water, but what I'm going to do is see if we can do it this way. There we go. Always an experience. By the way, we're live. This is right out of Life Changing Foods, expanded edition. Okay. And there we go. These are as frozen can get. There you go. All right, now while this is blending, okay, I'm going to get the other kiwis out of the freezer because I want them to defrost a touch. All right. I'm going to take these out. All right. There you go. Beautiful. Frosty, cold, looks amazing. Guys, take a look. This is the expanded edition. I know I haven't talked about it a little bit. Take a look. We'll put it up there. Expanded edition, right there. Pre-order it. Make sure you get a copy. Oh, wow. Look at that. Give it one more whirl. This is the kind of ice cream I'm talking about. There we go. We're done. That's the kind of ice cream I'm talking about. Look at that. And I am hungry. This is going to be great. Let me try with an ice cream scooper. You never know. I haven't done that yet, you know, like that. But I'm going to take some of this, just ice cream scoop it right in here. Oh, dear Lord. Does that look insane? Or does that look insane? Look at that right there. Come on. That is ice cream. That looks so good. I don't even know what to say. I'm going to put it in the freezer, though, for a minute, okay? And I'm going to make the next one. I don't want it melting while we're making the next one, okay? All right, I just stuck that in the freezer for now, if you guys are okay with that. Here's the thing. I think I'm going to... Let me just see. I don't want to toss this. I want to make another, but I really don't want to like this. I think I'm going to save this. I'm going to put it in this glass mug, and there we go. I don't want to throw this away. I want to eat this because I want to rinse this out. Give this a little rinse. Put this over here for now. Yeah. Whew. Okay. Guys, I'm right here. If you see me right here, I'm just going to do a quick rinse out. Because I'm making the green kiwi right now. Okay. Don't want water in this though, so let me just get some water out. All right. All right. So just a little rinse. I want to show you the contrast, okay? I want to show you the difference, if that's all right. Okay. All right. Sorry about all this. It's just that I wanted to make you the green kiwi. You know the green kiwi? It's not as good as the gold one, but it's still good. If you can only get these green ones, and so be it. There we go. Put them on the parchment paper. I like that. This is a recipe in the expanded edition. So good. I mean, seriously, it's so good. What kind of kiwi can you guys get? Can you get the gold kiwi? Oh boy, the gold kiwi. This is the green kiwi. Maybe you can only get the green kiwi. Maybe that's all you can get. All right. Same process, just gonna put a little lime in it. All right. Just cut a lime, couple limes, okay? Gonna make a lime version of this right here. There we go. Same process though. There. You guys like lime? Nice, nice, nice. Because I'm going to grab also this over here and all right, hang in there with me, you guys. What a great live. What a great live. All right. A little maple syrup in this one too, making another sorbet. Can't help it, right? A little bit of that. There we go. Add a little bit of this. Okay, let's get this going. All right, bear with me. Expanded edition. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. No. Okay, no, we're good. We're good. Did I put too much coconut water in there? No, we're good. No way. Nope, we're good. We're just going to break up these kiwis a little bit, and then we're good. This is what you could do. You can pop the top of your food processor off and just... Yeah, no, we're frozen. We're frozen in there. This is the green one. You guys don't mind. I'm just a little focused right here. Just... All right. That's the way to do it. There you go. Got the sorbet. Okay. Let's get the scooper out now. Let's go. And then we're going to hit the round table. I'm sure this will eventually be melting. I can't eat both these that fast at the round table, so we're just going to have to deal with what we got. There you go, you guys. Take a look. Get a close-up on this. It's hard to see that way, I'm sure, and maybe a sideways, kind of like a little bit of a look. There you go. Let me get the other one out. Over here by the freezer. We're doing it. Over here. Wow. I think that was smart of me to put it in the freezer for that very moment. I think that was a wise decision. Take a look right there. Let's hit the round table. We talked about blood sugar galore. All right. Whew. What else do we need? Look at that. Is that insane? That's insane. What else do we need over here? I always bring my lemon balm tea over. I just do. I can't help. I don't know, like, you know, what you would call it, but I just love having that around as well, too. Bring some adrenals. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Forgot about the expanded edition. If you're confused at my expanded edition and you think you're going to get one that looks just like that, please know you're going to get, instead of a real book, this is my manuscript right here that my publisher gave back to me. Okay. What you see right there is the gold kiwi one. And what you see right there is the green kiwi one. I'm sure by the time we're done, they're melting, but that's sorbet. It's going to melt. It's going to make a mess. Don't know what to say. I don't know. Kiwis are good for OCD. OCD, interesting. They're good for depression and OCD and for emotions. So let's talk about blood sugar emotions. When our blood sugar drops, man, we get volatile emotionally, and then we just blurt stuff out. If you're somebody with like an unstable blood sugar and your central nervous system is a little bit weak, and it's a little bit on the weak side, your central nervous system, because you got something going on there that we talked about, medical medium stuff, and then, you know, something else, and then your adrenals are a little weak, and then your blood sugar drops, you didn't eat anything for a few hours, and you got a lot of insulin resistance, you might just get really emotional, start crying, you might start blurting stuff out at people. You might get an anger bout and then a self-hatred bout. Blood sugar instabilities can get us into a very emotional, like seriously, an emotional place. So good. So good. It puts you in a happy place, I'll tell you right now. Overt fat-free. Ice cream. It's freaking ice cream. You can call it sorbet, but man, this is ice cream. Today it's ice cream. My God, why is that so good? All right, the Compassion Diaries. The Compassion Diaries. Oh my God, how amazing is this live? I hope I made this live good. Why is that one really good? See, I'm not a huge fan of green kiwi, even though they're delicious. I like the gold kiwis, but I have been proven wrong. I think I like the green one better. What the heck? Is it the lime that went into this one? Something's up. I didn't know I liked green kiwis this much. I thought I was just a big fan of the gold ones, right? I would eat the green ones, sure, but now I'm a green kiwi fan. Oh, it's so good. Sorry, guys, got lost. Oh, all right. Lighthearted Lisa says on YouTube, evenings stir up anxiety for me, and I fight cravings of fat, sugar, and salt. It's a daily struggle for me. And I talk about all this blood sugar information. I go into it in depth, but by no means am I disconnected from that struggle. I want you to know, Lighthearted Lisa, please know that. I understand that like struggle of the fats and the blood sugar struggles, or just the anxiety and the fats and the overt fats and like feeling like you're a prisoner, feeling like, you know, you fall victim into going back to that and you can't escape it. Like, just so you know, and the cravings are so strong, and the cravings make you want to go and just have more of that high fat and sugar and salt combinations. Fat, sugar, and salt combinations are like, oh my God. I mean, I know. It's hard. It takes time to break from it. It's got to start with that celery juice in the morning. Gotta get those electrolytes to the brain. Summer Valentine over there on YouTube. I could cry. Having all this right now so badly. I could cry having all this right now so badly. I thought I'm dying. You're the only person I found who shows how to heal it and not in my head. I am honored, okay? I want you to know I am honored that you feel that way, and I'm so sorry you're struggling. It breaks my heart. It does. You know the whole electrolyte thing? In the health movement, electrolytes weren't even involved in the health movement. They were just, there was electrolyte talk in the sports world, a sports division, the sports arena. You know, like it was about needing potassium. It was about sports. If you're a football player, if you're, if you're a basketball player, it was all about electrolytes were involved in the sports aspect, like hydration. That was a big deal in the sports realm, right? You know, the whole Gatorade thing and everything else, right, was that. But in the health realm, electrolytes weren't even involved. Like, they weren't even mentioned. They weren't even a thing. No one thought it mattered. If you're just somebody chronically ill, nobody said, hey, you need electrolytes, none of that. And the medical medium came out with, information about how it's trace mineral salts, electrolytes, trace mineral salts. Now you got influencers today, after, 10 years of these medical books, millions of books around the world, all these doctors and practitioners using medical medium information in the world, and all the work I've done and the stuff I've published and put out there and the lectures and everything else. Now you see these influencers and there's like, I got my electrolytes, I need my electrolytes. Some influencers are like, girls, you need your electrolytes so you can, do this and do that. It's like, yeah, you're using medical medium tools. And, and I'm glad. It's sad though. It's sad, just sad, because if they get really chronically sick, they're not going to know to go to medical medium information where that originates from. Like, look at the Brain Saver book right there. They're not going to know. There's so many people in the health realm right now screaming on TikTok that aren't censored, like, medical medium censored, but they're not censored. There's so many people screaming, and they'll poach a tool for medical medium, and they won't even know they're using a medical medium tool, and then no one can find their way. So if you're really sick, if you're somebody who's really sick with chronic illness, and you need to heal, and you're 25 and you need to heal, or you're 35 and you need to heal, good luck. You're not going to be probably knocking on the door of the medical meme information because you're going to be sidetracked over and over and over again. It's so sad. But it's good to see the tools got out, like the electrolyte thing and everything. It's good to see these tools got out there, but it sucks at the same time because so many people are going to be thwarted from actually going to the original place they come from so they can finish their healing process or get out of get out of a bad situation. And taking electrolyte powders isn't even the answer. So they still have wrong information. It's like the influencers talking about electrolytes right now are talking about yeah, you need your electrolyte powder. What the hell? That powder's shit. That powder is shit. It's so sad. No, you need to be on celery juice. I'm not trying to sell you an electrolyte powder. I'm just celery juice. Go to the store, make the store rich. Go buy your celery from the store. And then, I'm not trying to sell you a powder. I'm just saying you got to juice your celery. You got to go get your celery juice. That's electrolyte, not that crappy powder that some other influencers are selling other influencers because everybody's trying to make a buck. This recipe is from the expanded edition of Life Changing Foods. You're looking at the kiwi ice cream, which is kiwi sorbet. So good. I'm only doing this right now, too. I mean, I want to eat these, but I feel like if I let them spill over, as they melt over time, that's not going to be good. So, yeah. I'm trying to get an excuse for why I'm eating them. They're so good. That's the real reason why I'm eating them. Come on. But, yeah, I don't want them spilling over. All right, guys. You guys are in the medical meme kitchen. This is my table. And I drink my celery juice here. I talked about it for years. Drink your celery juice because you need the trace mineral salts. You need the electrolytes. It's critical. Don't intermittent fast. And if you're an intermittent faster, you better be doing your celery juice, which means you're not an intermittent faster anyway. Intermittent fasting has damaged so many people. I talked about that earlier. It screwed so many people up so bad. The bone broth fasting with bone broth screwed people up so bad. All that fat, fasting on fat. You can't detox on bone broth. You're fasting on fat. You kill your pancreas, though, and you kill your liver fasting on bone broth. My God, the mistakes made out there, it's absurd. I mean, I could just go through all of them, really. There's so many of them. Whether your blood sugar levels are too low or too high, eating this delicious kiwi fruit will help bring you back and stabilize you. And lowering your fats in your bloodstream while doing this is key. I mean, it's a great tool. The kiwis are a great tool. So let's talk about a little bit more about this. The vitamin C in kiwi helps to eliminate radiation. That's a big deal all on its own. So I'm looking through the book right now, and this is incredible information. So kiwis help to eliminate radiation. People are so radiated. They got so much radiation going on. It's insane. I mean, that's just the way the world is. There's so much radiation everywhere. Let's go into some conditions, symptoms, adrenal fatigue. Boom. Adrenal fatigue. How do you like that? It's right there. Athlete's foot. Kiwis are good for athlete's foot. ADHD, autism. Barrett's esophagus, chronic bronchitis, depression, diabetes, endometriosis, eye infections, gout, H. pylori infection, human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, hyperglycemia, hypoglycemia, jaundice, knee bursitis, mitral valve problems, prolapse, neuropathy, obsessive compulsive disorder, that's OCD, like I was saying before, they're good for OCD. Prostatitis, RA, rheumatoid arthritis, Salmonella poisoning. Salmonella poisoning. It's not a joke when you get it, though. Oh, man. Sepsis. SIBO, small intestinal tract overgrowth. Systemic lupus. Let's go into some symptoms. Abdominal pain, acid reflux, itching. Dandruff, constipation, diarrhea, fatigue, flatulence, fluid retention, gastritis, heart palpitations, high cortisol, inflamed spleen, inflammation, intestinal tract spasms, joint inflammation, loss of libido, low cortisol, low HCl, moodiness, nerve inflammation, pinched nerves, pins and needles, ringing or buzzing in the ears. So I'm just giving you some condition symptoms. Maybe you guys don't have any of that. Maybe none of you guys have any of that. Emotional support, let's cut into that a little bit. Offer kiwis to a friend or a loved one who you wish would be more appreciative and considerate. And when you're trying to bring those qualities out in yourself, kiwis are a go-to tool. When you're working with someone whose mood changes are unpredictable, and problematic, bring along a few kiwis for the two of you to snack on. So if you know somebody and their mood swings can go in any direction, it can be, really unpredictable and so forth, bring some kiwis along you can snack on. If you're the only one who partakes, you'll still serve the situation, as the kiwis will feed your enthusiasm and vibrancy to help influence and override your coworkers' emotions. I'm going to grab a kiwi because this next part, the spiritual aspect of it, I want you to hear this and see a kiwi. I'm going to grab a gold kiwi. And I think I'm going to grab one of these here. Good to see you guys over here too. How cool is that? How cool is that? Come on over here. How cool is that? Come on. Spiritual lesson. Okay? It's easy to get caught up in our day-to-day lives. Is that easy? Yes, it is. It's easy for me, I'll tell you. We put blinders on that block out a larger sense of what's around us. Distance ourselves from a true sense of who we are, and our worlds become shallow. Kiwis counteract all that. The next time you slice a kiwi in half, study what you see inside. Am I going to get kiwi juice on my manuscript? Yep, manuscript, there you go. Okay. The next time you slice a kiwi in half, study what you see inside. I just sliced it in half right there. I don't know if you guys can see it over here. It's like looking at an image of outer space. During growth, a mother kiwi vine, the female vine that bears the fruit, channels the universe's energy, depositing a snapshot of our greater surroundings into each growing kiwi. No other food contains a miraculous picture of the stars and the planets, mysteries and miracles of the world, of which our Earth is just one tiny part. So you see that in a kiwi. Meditate on this when you enjoy kiwis, this fruit with the humble outward appearance that opens to reveal a galaxy, opens us up to. Consciously and subconsciously, we can disconnect from the annoyances that keep us mirrored down and closed off. We can remember the vastness of the universe, the depths we ourselves contain, and shock ourselves out of the shallows of our daily lives so that we can find our purpose and connect to the secrets of existence. I'm going to show you a close-up of the inside of the kiwi. Guys, come back over here. So, I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to try to give you a... Let's see if we could get as close up as possible. You never know. We'll go a little bit down, a little bit more. There we go. Okay? It's like a universe in there. Look at that. This is a very spiritual fruit. There you go. Extremely spiritual fruit. Really incredible, actually. Okay. Put these right here. Well, I just want to enjoy a little bit of this too while we're hanging out. There's more. To feel the full effect of what this fruit can do for you, eat kiwi 3 times a day for 1 week. Think of it as an emotional, physical, and spiritual supplement. Taking one at 9 a.m., one at noon, and one at 3 p.m. For those 7 days, journal the changes that occur, the differences you feel, the epiphanies, and all other revelations. Have you guys, since we're talking about revelations, have you guys listened to the Life on Mars Book of Revelation episode on Medical Meme Podcast at Apple Podcast? Have you listened to that episode? Have you listened to it more than once? I listened to it more than once. I've listened to it 10 times. Because it's that mind-blowing. All right, keep your kiwis in a bowl on your nightstand. Check this out. Keep your kiwis in a bowl at your nightstand. I'm reading right here out of the expanded edition. Make sure you pre-order it. This will enhance the emotional aspects that the kiwi can impart. Sleeping beside the ripening fruits will intimately connect them with your being, deepening their effects on every level so they can have the most life-changing results. Sleep with your kiwis. Sleep with your kiwis. Have your kiwis in a bowl by your bed, on your nightstand. Have them connect with you. Have that little universe that sits inside the kiwi we talked about, have it connect to you on a spiritual, emotional, mental, supernatural level. So cool. So cool. Consciously and subconsciously, we can disconnect from annoyances that keep us mirrored down and closed off. I love that statement. The kiwi helps to bring us out of that. And this fruit has a humble appearance, outward appearance too. Just humble. It's just this gold, oddly shaped fruit. But the inside, it's like galaxies. Galaxies are in there. So powerful. I can read some comments, you guys. We can chill out. We're in my little round table here, chilling out. Lots of Love 144 says, wow, that's amazing information. Thank you for leaving that comment. Truly appreciate it. Wow, kiwis are powerful. Ocean and Pink said, amazing fruit, super cool. I mean, it's good to know something about what you're eating, and that's what the expanded edition does. It teaches you about what we're eating, inspires us. It becomes this reference guide. That's the whole point. So we know what we're doing with our food. We know what it's doing for us. We know what conditions and illnesses that it's helping us with. Like, think about how incredible all that is. This is so good right here. Oh no, I just dropped some on the side. My first spill. Suzanne Blonda says, you are powerful, AW. I'm honored. Just saw a comment up there a little bit. See if I can get to it. I think it said, it's a little higher. Yeah, there it is. Okay, what are your thoughts on kratom? You want to talk about kratom? Yeah, I gladly will talk about kratom. Let's talk about kratom. As long as TikTok live isn't on, and it's not, because I can't even say the word kratom and they'll ban me. It's insane. Kratom is something everyone should stay away and run and run and run from it. If you're thinking about taking kratom, turn around and run as fast as you can. Stuff is the worst. You can get addicted to that stuff and it will annihilate you. It's so scary. Yeah, kratom's so bad. So if you want my take on kratom, I see it as bad as ayahuasca in many ways. I see it as bad as psilocybins. I see it as bad as, these things. It's terrible. I mean, maybe I'll do a show on kratom someday. How many people are taking kratom? A lot. Oh my God. ACC, I healed severe endometriosis pain within 2 months of medical medium. Thank you, AW. How can I find the will to keep going when the future you describe sounds so dark? Well, it's like this. If you're going to walk through the woods and there is an old bear trap underneath the leaves, been left there for 20 years by some awful person who wants the trap to just snap into a bear's leg and have that bear screaming for its life until it gnaws its leg off and dies somewhere. If you're going to walk through the woods, you better know where the bear trap is. So that your leg doesn't get caught in it and you're out in the woods stuck until you literally have to figure out how to leave that trap and leave your ankle behind and your foot in that trap in order to survive. So, and that's the world. If we don't understand a lot of it, we don't understand a piece of it. Now, I know the political movement is just, all anybody talks about. And, everybody's like politically just, you get the left and the right, and everybody's just going ape shit all the time. But there are a lot of things in the world to be looking out for. A lot of things. It's not just politics. It's industries of all kind. It is evildoers on the planet. It is knowledge we need to protect ourselves one way or another. It could even be as small as intermittent fasting. Can live a good life. I talk about these different things like life on Mars. Ending times isn't today. If there isn't ending times. And the thing is that learning the tools in the medical medium books and Spirit of Compassion's information empowers the person, helps to protect them so they have a good life, so they can live a good life. You want to know about that bear trap in the woods. You want to know where it is. You don't want to just blindly walk through the woods and step on that thing. And in the world of health, that's what people are doing all the time. They're blindly walking through the woods and they're stepping on bear trap after bear trap after bear trap. And after they've gnawed off their own leg and left it in the trap, they do it all over again with something else that's in the trendy health world. There's a lot of beautiful things on this earth, and there's a lot of beautiful things about life. And there's a lot of special things, and nature offers so many beautiful things. And being thankful and grateful about the smallest things, and any kind of relationships you have with special people, anything like that is everything. But knowing not to walk in front of a bus and knowing not to run from a bee into a bus matters too. Knowing what's happening helps you fight darkness. Darkness that could be in your own life, making you miserable. Check out Angels, Demons, and Spiritual Tools. I would listen to that. I know a bunch of people probably haven't listened to it because they're probably spooked, but it's something you should listen to. It's really good. If you have that desire to want to learn that kind of information about the spiritual world, one of the tools in there is awareness, and that's how you can fight darkness, negative energy, demons, if you will. Do you ever run into people and they say, if you will? It always threw me. Now I say it once in a while. You know, I used to bump into people throughout the years and they'd be like, if you will. And I was like, huh? What do you mean, if you will? And they're explaining something to you and they're like, if you will. I'm like, what? If I will? What? But, you know, the information like in Angels, Demons, and Spiritual Tools is one of the most powerful tools in there. Like one of them is awareness. Awareness is an incredible, powerful, profoundly incredible tool to ward off darkness. It could change your life. It could literally change your life. Just that one alone, right there. That kind of empowerment can change your life and turn things around. Darkness doesn't want you to know there's darkness. Darkness doesn't want you to know what is happening. You know, darkness doesn't want you to know what's happening. Darkness doesn't want you to know there's darkness. I don't want to get this manuscript any kind of like chewed up. I'm just going to move it over for a minute, and I'm going to bring this way. If you guys don't mind. Anyway, you guys, get on the Medical Meme newsletter, please. Check out Barnes & Noble, the registration. It's open at Barnes & Noble in Glendale, Los Angeles. November 6th, I'm going to be there. It's a 3-story Barnes. Don't you want to come over there and hang out? I mean, come on. Don't you want to come over there and hang out? It's going to be amazing. I'm going to be there. I would love to shake your hand and say hi, sign a book. I would love to get a photo with you. And I'm going to make sure there's a lot of light that showers that building. It's a 3-story Barnes & Noble in Glendale. Are you going to be there? I would love to see you there. I mean, would really love if you guys come. That Barnes & Noble event is going to probably be one of the last events. It's actually be the last event for quite a while. Just letting you guys know. Eek! Did I say that? Did I actually say that? Crap. I'm just letting you know that Barnes & Noble event is going to be the last event for quite a long time. I mean, I went a decade without doing events. So, I don't know. If you guys can show up, that'd be amazing. As far as for anybody on the wait list for Cafe Gratitude, the dinner's on November 4th and November 5th, please open your emails. Because you're about to lose your chance for a ticket. Please open your emails. Huh? I get it. A lot of times it might have gone to spam. And I understand that. But please open your emails. Because we're like waiting. We're waiting on you. What are you going to do, you know? I want you to get a chance, you know. But the Barnes & Noble event is the third night. That's the third night I'm going to be doing an event. And that's on November 6th. That's the third night. November 4th and 5th are Cafe Gratitude. If you can't get a ticket, obviously, if you're not in there because it's limited, be there at Barnes & Noble. But the Barnes & Noble one is going to be my last event for a long time. I'm kind of sad. And it's kind of like, it's getting me a little choked up. I'm going to make sure that building is filled with light. Filled with light. I have a lot of work to focus on, and so yeah. Somebody went, no! I thought somebody just made a comment and said, no! Heidi says, I don't get your emails anymore, which is really interesting because I don't want to say too much about this, but yeah, I know. It's very annoying. It's not on our end. I can promise you that. But yeah, this censorship has gotten so crazy, like literally, like medical medium is like still censored. Nobody else is. They could do what they want out there. It's crazy. But censorship has hit us in so many different places. It's just crazy. You're not allowed to heal people. You're not allowed to heal a lot of people. A lot of people. You're not allowed to get a lot of people healed, and you're not allowed to challenge the industries. I'm not just talking about ultra-processed food shit and crap. I'm talking about like really challenging industries and really put out information to get people healed and get them better. You're not allowed to do that. You're allowed to talk about ultra-processed food shit and chemicals and this and this. And even then medical medium's books, you know, medical medium book series, I mean, is loaded with like so much of that information about all these things now people are talking about, published first in the books. But the point is you're allowed to go there with like ultra processed foods and food chemicals. But you're not allowed to heal a massive amount of people like in medical medium information. Like we've healed so many people, SOC has healed so many people through this information. And you guys have worked hard using this information to heal, and not allowed to do that. What do you think about these roundtable talks? Is this a good thing? Do we still do this? Do we still do this? Is this a good thing, or was this a bad idea to do the roundtable talk over here in my little kitchen? Giovanna over there on Facebook says, I can't post your egg podcast without social media censoring it. Correct. And you're on Facebook, which doesn't even let people see the live. There's only a few people that can see it. It's crazy. If you have problems watching the live streams, watch it on YouTube. Rumble, that's a great one there. Watch it on Rumble. All right, you guys, expanded edition. Make sure you get that pre-order. The recipe I'm eating right now is Kiwi Sorbet. It's right out of the expanded edition. I'm enjoying it right now and hanging out with you guys. We're doing an extra long live right now. Rewatch this live stream if you can. Make sure you're subscribe to my Telegram, because I'm leaving exclusive messages. And rewatch the live stream like I said before. Go to medicalmedium.com, get on the Medical Medium newsletter, listen to the Medical Medium podcast. Okay. Medical Medium podcast is a advertising free podcast. A podcast of this size, the Medical Medium podcast, it's not like a small podcast. It's a #1 podcast. The Medical Medium podcast, this size, without advertising and commercials and ad campaigns, is unheard of. Please know that. It's unheard of. I'm not saying I'm going to do it that way forever, but I've been fighting like hell to do it this way and not have it nothing but commercials and commercials and commercials and selling crap and selling crap and selling crap by all these people who want to pay me, you know, all these bucks to go on my, to actually be in my, like, to be a commercial in my podcast. So just know it's advertising free to this day. The podcast is. That doesn't exist out there. So I just want people to realize that. It's pretty cool, right? Michelle Gribben, I love your help and information. It's the only thing helping me. Bless your heart. Anyway, love you guys. At one point in time, Mars was a thriving planet. But just like on planet Earth, greed for land and resources always dominate. We've had wars on planet Earth for centuries. Spiritual wars over religion. Wars because of land grabs. Wars because of ego. And the fight for power has always existed for centuries. And history keeps on repeating itself. And the battle between the light and the darkness continues. Is it possible that on planet Mars, they had their own book of Revelation? There was life there. There were civilizations. There was good, and no doubt there was evil. In the King James Version, there are connections to the red planet Mars. If your eyes are open, you'll see them. Now, Mars once had different creatures that are similar to the creatures we have here. One common sighting is a hairy beast, stands on 2 feet, and has the face of a human. In the book of Revelation 4, verse 7, and the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf, and the third beast had a face as a man. Now all of these creatures have been seen here on Earth within the last few hundred years. And now with technology and everybody having a camera, we're seeing more and more sightings of these creatures. And these creatures could be some of the last creatures standing during ending times. And this prophecy could be a lot older than just here on Earth.